I'm going to go ahead and get started. Again, I'll say for the record that if you want to complete the survey, not here today on paper, it is up online on our website. That is on the handout, so if you wanted to take that, otherwise it's www.lhmpo.org. Excuse me. And it is on the left side, so if you go to there, we have two different studies going, as many of you know. So this particular one is on the left-hand side. Okay, for some of you, this is kind of a repeat because you come to most of the meetings, but the MPO is Metropolitan Planning Organization, was established here in Havasu December of 2013. The governor designated it an urbanized, well, the census, because of the census, it was designated an urbanized area because the population exceeded 50,000. So the governor signed a designation letter in March 2013. Hence, here we are. Part of our job, actually all of our job, is to do transportation planning. It's many, many components. So I'm not going to go into all of them, but transportation is roads, streets, bicycle, pedestrian, multi-use paths. So we're many modes of transportation. That is our goal. Transit, because some of you have asked about the transit. We still have to plan it, because that's what the feds require me to do. This study is a federal requirement. However, when you're planning, you have to have some kind of idea of where you want to go, what you want to develop. And what we've done with some of it is that we have taken prior studies and projects that have not been completed, and we're evaluating those to see, do we want to put them in the plan? Do we want to take them out of the plan? And so that's what you're all about. We want your opinion. So as you will see on this, which that's what's on the map. So we'll go through some of the stuff that we have in the plan, and we want your opinion as to where you might rank that particular project. Whether you want to do it within the next 5 years, 10 years, or 20 years. So I'm going to introduce our consultant. This is Patrizia Ganola. She's with Jacobs Engineering. And in the back room, we have Heather Hansberger, who is her right hand in doing a public involvement process. And I always forget to do this. I'm not going to forget today. Is Jeanette Buckley, who's my assistant and keeps me going, keeps everything in line. And I don't see any elected, so I have no one to introduce except for Rich Wells, who is the vice chairman of the Technical Advisory Committee for the MPO, and he's also an engineer with the city. So at this time, I'll let Patrizia take over.
Thank you, Jean. Actually, it's nice to see a lot of you coming back, because I really need your input, and hopefully you will go back to the people that are not here today, but they were here on the previous meeting, and tell them to go online and do the survey, because I really need your input at this particular time. For the agenda today, Jean already did the introductions. I'm going to do a very brief, quick study overview, and then we're going to go to the future forecast, or how the city is seen to grow, and we will go to the recommendations. We will tell you how you can participate, and then if you have questions, we're here to answer them for you. The study purpose, actually, Jean kind of already went through that one, so I can actually skip this one. It's a federal requirement for the new MPO, and she already explained pretty much that to you. So I will not bore you with the same informations. But there is a process we have to follow. She mentions that it is a federal requirement. So what is the process that is required by the Fed, so that we can get funding, right? Everything is funding. So first of all, we have to identify goals and objectives, and we started this back in December of last year. Actually, we came here for a public meeting, and we asked the public, what is that you envision, what you would like as far as transportation is concerned. And I will have later on the results of all of that for you. Then what we did, we came and we talked to you. So that we did that, then we determined what the conditions are. What are the conditions today with respect to all modes of transportations, and what are going to be in the future. So we did that. Then we identified the deficiency based on what the conditions were. And we came here. We came to you, we presented those to you last time. And then you gave us some idea, some informations. So we went back to the board to say, let's try to draw a plan based on what you told us and what the technical information also told us. And that's where we are. We came up with a plan. We are here to present that to you. and we want your input, and I will go over that with you. There is one more thing we will do. Once we get your input, we will finalize it. So this is the process we have to follow mandated by the federal government. This is so fast. Okay, socioeconomic conditions. Some of this actually was presented last time, but for the people that were not present, I would like to just go briefly over. The increase in populations, we're going from about 56,000 employees to about 70 in Lake Havasu. Then we are going to, also employment is going to grow. We are going to go from 27,000, more or less, 27,000 employees to, from 20,000 employees to 27,000 employees. So there is some growth on that. The other thing is we have to understand some of the characteristics of the populations, because we have to understand what the population might need as time goes by. This is a recreational area. The average age of the population is a little older than in other locations, so we need to consider that also when we do development and improvements on all modes of transportations. So with where is that we are going to grow? Okay, as you can tell, the darker spots here, I don't know if you can see that really good, but where is the concentration of growth? Well, the concentration of growth is going to be infill. So as here is the darker it is, the denser we're going to be. So as you can tell, this is darker, this is lighter, this is darker, so there is infill here, there is infill up here. As you can tell, it's a lot more darker here, so there is not too much growth outside, but there is a lot of infill inside town. That's where the growth is going to happen. With that said, what is telling you that whatever condition you have now, right, you're going to have more people on the same roads. Okay, so we need to do something about that. Let's look where these people might go. So we're looking at, this is the employment. Okay, employment usually activities are where the shopping, so where people will go from their home to the different activities. So what we're going to have is that the same corridors actually are going to be more or less there. There is a little more increase down in this area, but the major corridor will remain, the big shopping center up here. So there is not much difference in where the employment is located, even in the future. Just a little increase, but there are now some employment center located in a totally different location than they are today. This is as per the general plan. That's what we have at this time. So with this kind of populations and this kind of employment, what will happen to our transportation system? That's what we are here to identify. Okay. Remember I told you we came here twice already. So the first one was, what were some of the goals that the resident would like to see we're going to try to actually meet in the development of this plan? What is that we would like to achieve with this plan for the Lake Havasu MPO area? So these were the three most important items that were presented to us. Preserve, make safe, and improve the existing transportation system. Plan, design, implement a coordinated transportation system with regional value and involve the public. Okay? The next thing was, this was important, and this was, so-so. So the major things that we need to achieve with this plan, we need to go back to what the goals are, and they were identified. So these were the major goals. Then last time, we got a little more specific, because these are general, and then we're going to start going more specific so that we can identify the improvements. So the next one was, what are your priorities? And the priorities were reduce congestion, increase safety, have a livable and sustainable community, air quality, transit, bike and ped, preserve future travel corridor, and preserve the transportation system. So what was the result of that? Those were the three highest ranked priorities by the people that participated to the public meeting. Then we have 4, 5, and 6 by pedestrians, and then we have preserve the current transportation system. People were not really too hot on it. Air quality, we don't have a problem. So 7 and 8. Now, let's keep an eye on the 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay? You would expect then when we come back, those 1, 2, 3, and 4 will still be, you know, maybe not the same 1, 2, 3, but they will be in the same group. Okay? So this is the results from last public meeting. Then we got a little more specific. And you say reduce highway and street congestion by widening or building new roads. So we got more specific. Now we're telling you we want to widen the road. So do you like this or don't you like this? Then reduce highway street congestion by implementing travel demand management. Promote plan for complete streets to have a livable and sustainable community. Create multimodal connections, improve multimodal access, repair, maintain aging bridges and pavement, invest in targeted safety improvement, and add traffic calming measure. Okay, hands up. Remember, let me go back. Okay, so we had reduce congestion, increase safety, have a livable community, bike and pedestrian facility. Those were the 4 highest ranked. Okay, we're in Vegas now. Let's take bets. No. Okay, here we go. And what was the show? Whatever somebody says. And man, see, that's where my handicap is. And the survey says, thank you. And the survey says, those were the 3 highest one. And if you look at it, create multimodal connections, invest in targeted safety improvement, and promote plan for complete streets. Let's go back. Look at the color. Okay, so this one was those 3, okay? And if we go back, so it was red, green, gray, and purple. Purple, gray, and green. So we missed the red, okay? But there is a very good correlations between what you said before, and once we came back and we said, let's be more specific, you actually wanted the same thing. So that's pretty good. Sometimes you find surveys that when you get down to specific things, people change their minds. They say, oh, no. Yeah, we thought about that, but really don't want this. And so this was very interesting. It was very good. Makes my life much easier because I know where I need to go. So for the other ones, repair and maintain pavement and bridges. 5 is reduce highway and street congestions, and people really don't want to widen the roads, okay? And then these are the other 2. So the same pattern is there. Looks like everybody, because we had different people at these meetings. It looks like everybody kind of have, you know, the same wish for what they would like to see on a plan. So I wanted to share this with you so that we know where we are. This is why the public input works. So what are the improvements? I'm going to go one at a time. We're going to start with the roadways, okay? Based on the growth that we have seen before, where are some of the locations where we have, you know, concern? So for the roadway, we are going to widen. We will have to widen some roadways. 4 lanes, and we have the Palo Verde, which is this one. It's very small segments, and then a coma, okay? Where it's now 2 lanes is the switch when you end the 4 lanes, we need to go further down a little more because it's going to give us problems. Then there's going to be some pavement preservation because the pavement is not good. So, but the city actually is doing quite well because it's all ADOT. It's all 95. Most of the problems on the pavement is on 95. So ADOT will be responsible to pay for that one. And those are the locations that needs to be done. As I said, this is a short term, which is a 5-10 years. Then we have a lot of intersections improvement that needs to be put in place. A lot of this because of the safety, and I'm not going to go into specific because you have a strategic safety plan that is concurrently going with this one, and they're going to be more specific on address it, but we have identified that those intersections need to be improved within the next 10 years, 5 or 10 years. Some of them, majority of them, as you can tell, they're along 95, but there are a couple of them that are not. These two are actually in the city, okay? And this one is Riviera, right? Mesquite and Riviera. And then this is Lake Havasu and Acoma. Okay, those are in the city. The other majority are along 95. They're having issues. The other thing is we need to start looking, especially for studies at this particular time, is do we need for safety, do we need to take a look at where a potential second bridge needs to be from the mainland to the island? Do we need to take a look? So we would suggest to have a feasibility study for the second bridge, where that could go. And there is a lot of congestions on Lake Havasu Avenue and 95 between Mesquite and Mulberry. And because of the design and all of the short segments actually between the closeness of the two roadways and all the access points that you're having because all the businesses are there, it's very hard to come up with a specific improvement. We cannot widen. There are a lot of other issues, but maybe something that is called a travel demand management. Some people call it traffic, but it's really not a traffic study. It's try to identify, is there a way that maybe we can consolidate the driveway so that we have less access points, so we can reduce potential safety, potential accidents? Is there other ways? I'm just going to throw something totally off there. Can we just take the traffic light off and put a roundabout? Is that going to work better? We don't know, but we can take a look at those things. So the suggestion is, let's do a study, and we call it a traffic study, but it's really a travel management study. And right there. So that's what we would like to recommend for the short term. Okay, let's go to the long term. Okay, so the short term is still all there. Now we built on it. Okay, so what are we going to do further out? Okay, so we need to widen some more roads. The way that the growth that we're going to have by 2040 will require some more capacity. So these are the roads that we're going to be. As you can tell, it's just the continuations from where we were before. Okay, and so we have Acoma, Saratoga to 95. We have B, which is Palo Verde, so we just connect to that. Then we have C over here, which is Jamaica. Then we have D up here, which is industrial. And then we have Lake Havasu Avenue from Kiowa to Palo Verde. Okay, so those need to be widened to 4-lane to be able to accommodate the travel that is going to be occurring by 2040. Then the next things, then it will be, remember we did the study previously to see is it feasible to have a second multimodal bridge actually. And so this one, if it's possible for an alternative emergency, if it's possible to have it built by 2040. Okay, so this is the roadway. Let's move to the other one, which is the pedestrians and the bicycle. Oh, sorry, I forgot about the big one. I want to go too fast. Okay, talking about emergency. And I know that this has been talked before, okay? And the thing is that we have to start planning now. Even if it is 25 years from now or 30 years from now, we need to start planning now. We need to start to preserve the corridor if a corridor is needed. Please, this is not where it's going to happen. We had to put something there. The final might be this way. We don't know. That's why a study usually is done. And so something that has to be in a project of this type, ADOT is who's going to do a project of this type. So we need to work with ADOT to get a study to see if it's feasible if it's needed, and where it could potentially go. As I said, we don't know if it's going to get built by 2040, but we need to start thinking. We need to start thinking now. It might get built in 2060. We don't know that, but we have to start thinking now on the project. So, okay, transit. Let's go to the transit. For the transit, at this particular time, because of the input that we got from the public, we are going to just recommend more of a short term, what needs to be done, because depending on what we can do in the next 5 to 10 years, then we should be able to have a better handle on what can happen in the next 25 years. This plan will be updated every 5 years, mandatory by the federal government. So every 5 years, this plan is updated. So for this particular time, because of some of the input that we received, we would like just to look at the short term. So these are the options for the short term. There is a current demand response service that is provided, and that is for the populations of elderly, disabled, and low income and mobility limited. But one of the things that we have heard is that the hours of service are not sufficient. So one of the things that we could do is longer hours of service and the ability to reliably reserve rides the day before the service, okay? So we would like to try to push for that. The other thing is identify financially affordable level of general transit. We need to, one of the biggest issues with transit, as everybody know, is the subsidies. With what we have, can we identify something that will provide a viable service? Is there something that can provide a reliable service for the money that we have? That's what we need to find. That's an option. Do you guys want us? Do you want to study that? Do you want to see that done? Just with what we have. And if that is not sufficient, what is that needs to be done in order to make it a viable service? Build partnership with the Human Services Agency. There is actually quite a lot of money for human services that can be utilized for transit if there is good coordinations and mobility management between all the agencies. That's where the problem comes in, is the mobility management between all the agencies. But if that is doable, then there is a lot of money that can be funneled into that particular exercise. So regional services, okay, rideshare, that's another thing. Rideshare, then pool services for commuters, see if there are maybe some park and rides, especially at the endpoints on 95 before entering Lake Havasu and north of Lake Havasu, for people that have to go to Bullhead, or people have to go to Kingman. Is that something that the residents are interested in seeing? And that's something that we have not spoke to before, but this is one of the things that we would like to explore. Then identify also regional route. Then transit management. That's one of the bigger pieces of the puzzle, and sometimes it's the hardest thing, is the coordinations. Provide information. Is there an easy way to find information about transit? Is there a better way to provide that information to the residents so that they can use transit? A lot of time, they don't know that certain services are there. So do we need to have, before anything, a good education campaign on what we have and see if we can boost what we have and build from it? So that is another one of the options. Build a partnership with the other transportation provider in the region. And, for regional travel, let's try to see what we can do with the other major cities, Bullhead and Kingman, in the area. So these are some of the short term. Depending on what of these item is going to start, then we will be able to do the the future or the long term, but and we need to know from you which are these items really you're interested to see and being pursued as part of the recommendation for the study. Okay, bicycle pedestrian, short term. I just want to point out that the little green, yellowish, whatever that color is there, those are existing sidewalks, okay? So first thing we had to inventory was the existing sidewalks. And then everybody knows, right? The county has a little bike lane up there. They just finished it, just done, okay? And then the little dotted right here, that's the multi-use path along 95, okay? So this is what we have. So one of the things we had to do is we were looking to do, and we did, a gap analysis as far as the sidewalk. There are a lot of sidewalks next to school that are missing. There are a lot of sidewalks that, you know, the ends are abruptly ends, but if you just build it and you have a very nice walk path that you can have. So that's what we start doing. Same thing with the multi-use path and the trail. So this is what we came up for. Sidewalk connectivity. So we were looking especially where the schools were, where the parks were, and when there were some, you know, gap, they could actually provide an extended pathways for people to actually, you know, walk or, you know, get on the bicycle, I guess. If it's a sidewalk, you can go that too. Is it prohibited in the city to travel by bike on the sidewalk? Yeah, there you go. Downtown is not there. Okay, so so these are some of the locations that we have identified, and this actually, let me go back. Let me go back before it goes. As you can see, you see like right here there is a hole. There are a couple of holes here. So if I go like this, some of those holes actually get filled in, so that you have continuous path. Okay, we had to start somewhere. That's what we did. Then the next thing that we were looking for new trail. So the new trail that we were proposing is the continuation of Eldorado. See right here? We wanted to continue it. And actually it's going to go to the park right here. And then another thing is that all of the areas here, these all resort, there is no trail actually that connect to the loop on the island. There is no trail. So we would like to have a multi-use path, because there's a lot of people that sometimes get the bicycles and they go there, but there is not really a dedicated multi-use path. The resort, yeah, the resort's right here. Yeah, it's missing. So let's get something here, and then we'll connect in the future other things too. Okay, so those are the two major ones. Pedestrian crossing. I think we need to conduct a study to see, can we have from the Eldorado Trail, right, and then also 95 here, to have, and maybe a, if it's possible, a pedestrian crossing to go to the aquatic center. Is it over, is it under, but just so that we don't have to cross 95. So that's another, and just conduct a study. Is it doable? Can we do it? And see if that is done. And then restripe bicycle lanes on existing roadways. As you can tell, we were trying to identify a core. Okay, so it will be this way, and these are all the little pieces. But as you can see, this is really the path. And McCulloch right here. Can we build a core, an internal core to start with? And I got something from John already, some ideas that maybe we should think about connecting this piece, and then a north piece, so that we have north and south with the center connected, okay? So that's something that we will take a look at for you. So this is just building the core for the multimodal transport, okay? So what are we going to do for the future? Okay, this is where we are. We're going to build on it. Okay, new trails. So we will continue. We have the shoreline, north and south over here. And I know there has been there is a proposed new intersections right here, and it's a milepost about 180 on SR 95 for a potential connections to a new marina up here. So we just put the multi-use path down this way. Then this one, Shemewevi, this is the Shemewevi Trail. This is a continuations of Eldorado, because remember it was right here, we built it and it's this way, and then the other big one that we have up here is the Havasu Pimawash that we have. The trail plan had a lot more trails here, but at this particular times, because it's only 2040, and we stop at this particular point. We try to see if, if there are connections, with other modes, and this is, okay, there we go. Pedestrian crossing, so it will be this right here. Remember the underpass? Actually build it this time. We studied it before. We're gonna build it, and then this is for the second bridge. And now we're gonna complete the bicycle. And the reason why, as you can tell, why we stop the trails, where we stop them, right? Because they all connect to another mode, which is the bicycle at this particular time. So like right here, you see there's connections, stops right here, this one stops right here, this one stops right here. So you actually can change modes. You can go from the bicycle, you can take the multi-use path, you can walk. So it's really connections between the different modes of transport that we have. So this will complete the loop actually for most of the bicycles that we have. There is one thing that because this is a multi-use path, and this is a little bicycle, and I do not know, I just put it up there. The other option is to have continuing the bicycle lane here to connect at least to the multi-use path. I just put that there, out there for people to think about it and give me your feedback on it. But it's another thing that I was thinking, but I didn't put it because actually I've not heard any from the public that they were interested in that. But to me, it would just make sense because you have the bicycle lane already here. You just connect this and you get a multi-use path right there that you can connect to. So you actually can get there. So think about that one and give me your feedback on it. Okay, so these are the improvement that we are recommending for the short term and for the long term with respect to the roadways, bicycle and pedestrian, and for the short term only with respect to transit. We are planning to have the study done in January 2016. Then we'll also have a 30 days period for comments from the public. Okay, we will put it out there. Once we finalized, we'll put it out there for the public to comment for 30 days, at the close of which we will just finalize everything. And that will go to the board for approval. Probably that will be what, February, March? March, okay. So this is where we are in the schedule. Your input. Oh, I forgot to change the Lake Havasu MPO. Go to the Lake Havasu XXX and YYY. I was creative, I tell you. I forgot to put XXX. Well, the thing is this, I have it down here. It's the same thing, right? I have it down here. I guess that's what happens when you're having too much fun. You only see W, X, and Y's for it. But it is right there. It's the same locations. Please, please, please go to the website. Tell your friends that the website is up there. It's up. It's rolling. It's fun. You get to move numbers, pick what you want. And, and then we're going to collect it because as you can tell, and I showed you, we use the results from the surveys. That's what help guide this plan, is whatever the public and the technical is telling us we need. So we really do need your input for that. First, I want to thank you again for coming. And if you have question and answers, I'll take the answers.
Before we do that, how do you turn this back? I have to talk on one thing here. There's one map in here that wasn't real clear when she covered it, and I don't remember which slide it was on, but I'll see it in a second. Okay. Does this make this work?
Yeah.
This is mine. You think I would know how to use it. So this corridor, that 95 corridor, and I'm sure you've heard of it through the years, because it's been a while, at least a few years. ADOT actually did do phase 1 of that study. They did not shut it down, but they've frozen it. So I just want to make it clear that it's frozen, and I know that it's not in ADOT's 10-year, and I doubt that it's going to be in their 20-year. So I just wanted to be really clear that that was proposed before it was brought up here. There is no route that's been designated. That's where it stopped. That route, it's the metal. That route has not been designated. There were 3 alternatives that were presented, and nothing was determined. It was stopped. So just so that you know, it was talked about. It's not something that we're putting in there in our current plan for the next couple of years or 10 years. But one thing I've learned in the time that I've been doing this job, if you do not have it in your plan and the money becomes available, you are not going to get it. So my job is to make sure that we're planning the things that we need to plan. So you might look at some of those things and you're looking at your sheet and you're going, this is pie in the sky. It's okay if it's pie in the sky. That's hey, we're here to dream. And that we do have some pots of money, but we're here to dream, and it's like your Christmas wish list. Sometimes you wish, kids particularly, they wish for things that they know that Santa Claus isn't necessarily going to bring, but they wish for it. This is kind of the same thing. So don't discount what we do, because that's what we do. We plan for those things that maybe are not achievable in the next couple of years, but a couple of you know me, and you know that I'm turning over rocks looking for money. And I won't give up on that until the day I leave. So when I leave here sometime in the future, I will have made that impact with all of your help. So that's all I had. I just wanted to point that out really quick. And so I hogged into her space.
No.
But if there are questions, we will come out with a microphone so you can ask your question.
Did you cover the Pimawash in terms of extending those paths? Pimawash, was there any mention?
Yeah.
She knows right where it is. I messed up her theme.
Oh, here we go. Okay.
Because it ends in Tacoma. And it could go farther out.
Yeah. You're talking about this, right? The Pimawash Trail?
Well, it's the Pimawash. It goes all the way from around the quality end, straight up, all the way through the middle of town, all the way up to past Mesquite.
Yeah, right there.
What he's talking about so that the television people can hear.
Well, that's what I'm trying to figure out which one he's talking, because this is the Eldorado Trail that goes up here. This is Shimiwevi that we have. This is the Havasu, and this one actually is Eldorado Wash. Is Pima Wash Trail to, this is called power line. There's a power line right here, okay, and he stops right there at the power line.
I just know the Pimawash is right there, looking on the other side of the quality end. It goes straight up, Pimawash, and it goes right through down. Pimawash, it goes right through downtown, right to Mesquite, and right up to Tacoma, and then it just dead ends right there at Tacoma, and you're stuck. And
I think my colleague is writing it down. Okay, say that again.
Well, it would behoove everyone if they would extend the Pimawash the way they've done it, because there's a lot of traffic that goes right up there. I mean, even kids could take a shortcut to the high school. I mean, it's actually in place. It's just not been paved or anything, and I'm just think that that's an area that should be looked at immediately.
Okay, we'll make sure we do that. Pimawash, yes. Make sure I do that.
No, we're on television.
Oh, we are. Okay. This is my first meeting, so I've missed a lot of information. And I've seen some data at a previous meeting, but so there's a lot of numbers behind these things other than just opinions as to what needs to be done? Okay. I was a little concerned with, just off the top of my head, the widening of Palo and Acoma at those two locations. I haven't been in town that long, but those two locations are high pedestrian locations as well, and increasing the lanes there could be real problematic for the pedestrians. Yeah, the orange ones, I think. Yeah, Acoma between, I think you said Saratoga and Daytona, and South Palo between Kiowa and Acoma. So you've got the two schools there on South Palo, a lot of pedestrians. Increasing the lanes there could be really problematic. I don't perceive it, I drive that all the time. I don't perceive it as a specific backup problem. And the one on Acoma between Saratoga and Mesquite, you've got people going across there in golf carts. So anyway, just.
What we did is we look at the growth on the 10 years and 20 years where the concentrations of both populations and employments were, and that's our basis to actually see how much the traffic will grow. And because of those areas, those are some of the areas where the growth is going to occur first. The impact that is going to have on the particular roadway, the roadway will not be able to handle the additional traffic that's going to be on. That's why we decided to go to the 4 lanes. All of these improvements, though, are not set in stone. There need to be a study done first to see how is the best way to do that. Is it feasible? That's one of your concerns because of the students and the people in the carts and all this kind of thing. Is it feasible? And then, what is the best way to manage that? So there is always, whenever we say this needs to be improved, we just identify that the needs are there. How that is going to happen, that will come with the study, and the engineers will decide that particular one. But we just let them know that based on the growth that has been projected, that is an area that we need to think about, and we need to see what we can do before it gets too late.
Yes, you do.
No, I don't.
Yes, you do. I get in trouble for
But
this.
it's based on his, would it be a recommendation from y'all to have complete roadways, and that would address those concerns?
And it sounds funny, we talk about some of the stuff, and I catch this word coming out of her mouth a lot, and it's called study. That is what we do, is we study. And you're going, God, we study this stuff to death. But like I said, some of you are getting to know me. We don't do a study and stick it on the shelf. And there's a purpose behind every study that we do. So if you have to study a particular stretch of highway, like for instance, we were talking about Lake Havasu Avenue between Mesquite and all the way to Mulberry, huh? Actually, we need to. There's a purpose behind that. And it's also because if you ever drive it, there's not a lot of sidewalks in that area. It's barely room enough for 2 cars to get through on each lane. I mean, it's the bare minimum. So if you don't study it, how do you make the improvement? And I'm not an engineer, and I don't build the road, but if I take that to Rich at the city, he's going to say, how do you know this is what you need to do? So that's why when you keep hearing that word study, that is what we do at the MPO. We do the study, and then I get to convince the city or the county to, and I help look for the funding. I can't always find it, but that's my job, is to do the study and present that to the city and say, okay, the study's done now, and it's showing we need blah, blah.
And actually, we are going to put in, because it's been the sentiment of the community, complete streets. Whenever possible, that's why the studies there is, can we fit in a cross-sections that is a complete street? Can we do that? That's what that study does. And if they say, yes, it can be doable, this is what it's going to look like, that's what we move forward with. Yes, absolutely. That will address his concern. If we're going to go complete streets, which mean we have kind of lanes for all the different modes so that they don't cross one another. So that's one of the sustainability and livability way to approach transportations is to actually isolate so that they don't have to share the same lane, like the bicycle and the bicycle and the cars share the same lane. You know, you have the cars here, if it's possible, you have, you know, or some tree or something else, and then you will have the lanes for the pedestrians and the bicycle, or multi-use share, okay, but it's separated from the cars and the trucks. So that's what a lot of communities are going to, and it has been expressed here. And actually, the study that was conducted on the Mesquite and Swanson corridors is looking at complete streets. So there is already been a precedent made in the city that has been looked at and has been suggested. So all we need to do is keep on doing it. Sometimes you do it often enough, then it goes. But if we don't do it, it's never going to go. So that's where we are right now. Yes.
I can just Now, what about stormwater? Because ADQ now has this, they're coming around saying that we can't discharge stormwater to the lake. So how are we going to convey the stormwater off of the streets without it going into the lake? Is that included as well?
Actually, this study does not do that. That is an engineering. It's an engineering issue. So I'll turn it all over to Rich. Sorry. It's a totally different animal. It's an engineering issue, and that's a totally different discipline to actually look at those things.
Okay, guys, either come use that one or I'll hand you the microphone. Good answers, but you can't hear you.
Okay. Any other questions?
How far have you gone in terms of securing funding and planning and coordinating the two? Funding and planning?
Yeah. As Jean said, first we need to come up with a plan. Then one of the things that will be done after we do this public meeting, we're going to identify the project and we're going to prioritize. This is the most important, this is the second, this is the third, this is the fourth. And what we're going to do is, depending on how much money you have, right? Sometime maybe the second, because it's less, might become first because that's all the money you have to get things done. But we will prioritize and try to see, and that's how it will be done. Yeah, we're not there yet. So that's one of the product of this plan, is to have a list of projects that are going to be prioritized, both for the roadways, the pedestrians, and the bicycle, and then based on the funding that we can identify for each of the categories is which one can we do. That's where we are. Yes, sir.
Is all the data available online?
All of this data is online. We keep everything that all presentations that Patricia has done are on our website.
Well, I mean, like, let's say, how many cars per hour on each of these roadways?
We actually have a map that was done at meeting 2, I believe it. Wasn't that the map that had the counts? Because we've got it's up on our website.
We have the map. Yeah, we have the map with the counts, and we have, there is a map with the forecasts.
And then some of the traffic counts, I get those directly from one of the gentlemen that works for the city. So in the city areas, I can request it for the county areas, because we do encompass some of the county areas. So like I get the copy of the traffic counts every single month that I think Rich gets and Greg gets for McCulloch and Lake Havasu Avenue. How many people are coming across the bridge back and forth? That one I get every single month. And yeah, it's up.
Are those counts including our winter visitors?
It depends on the time of the month. Because I've got one for every single month of the year. So it could be visitors that are here in July. It could be here for the snowbirds who are here in February. So,
His concern, I was thinking on how they would affect the numbers, because he's new to the area. I didn't know if you knew.
personally, after looking at the traffic counts that I've been receiving from that department, they're up every month. Am I correct, Rich? Aren't they up every single month? So we don't have a slow month at that intersection at all. So whether it's July 4th or it's July 22nd. And actually the funny thing was, I think some of our areas, the traffic counts were actually higher on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. Now that's odd. But yes, we get them in various locations throughout the city. But what we did is we got that information and I sent it off to the consultant who did upload, and we have some of those maps might be difficult to read. So when you have a question about a particular intersection, email me. You've got my email, and I'll see if I have that one or can get it. Any other questions? I invite you all to come up here and look at this map. There's been a lot of stuff thrown at you, and some of you have sitting through 2 of my meetings, 2 in 1 month, no less. And we have a lot going on, but that's what we do. And we were talking about the funding. Yes, this is a very small MPO, so our allocation is not a lot. So I have to partner with the city. And part of my job is I still have to meet with the city manager and say, okay, these are the different mechanisms I have for funding, because this is new for them too. They were not aware of all these things before, even though they were under WACOG. So some of these mechanisms of funding, we've got some improvements going on, like Havasu Avenue and Swanson over the next, 2015, 4 years. That is funding that came from WACOG. It's the projects total about $3 million. Doesn't sound like a lot, but we're going to get a lot done. And so the MPO gave their allocation because it's so small. They said, okay, here, take our money till 2021 so that we can get a big project out of it, and that's what we did. So that's kind of what you do if you can. And those in the funding, as we speak, the highway trust fund is on the floor being discussed today, because their money is inadequate to service the needs of the whole United States. And Arizona's pot that they get is so small. So they're having to look at other avenues of funding besides gas tax. So that's being discussed today on the floor in DC. Any other questions? Huh?
There was an article in the paper, the online version, and it was in reference to the planning, last meeting, and somebody made the comment that they should have an annual registration tax on bikes to pay for the bike paths. So I posted a response, and I said, so should we start taxing the pedestrians for the sidewalks? You know, I figured the same logic, right?
You know, sometimes, and as you develop it, you know, we're kind of, if you look at the way the city's built up, we're just hodgepodge pieces that aren't developed. And it's very difficult as a developing community to go to the developers. I mean, it was easy to watch it happen in Prescott Valley for me because it was such a new community. So as it was being developed, the developer was required to do a lot of this stuff. They were required to put in schools and sidewalks. So now what we do is we look for the funding, the federal funding, because cities can't afford this stuff anymore. You know, they only get so much unless you all want to have a raise in your taxes. So there are federal ways of getting I saw that look. There are federal ways of there are federal funding that is available. This year's a real tight year because the funding has been very volatile, because the Highway Trust Fund is going broke. So once they get this ironed out, we'll have a long-term transportation bill, and we'll get a set funding amount, and hopefully it will be more than what we're looking at right now. Because as you all know, it's not just us who drive the gas cars who beat up our roads. It's you know, it's electric cars, I can't think of all the things there are, but there's many things that are utilizing our roads. So I may not own a car, I'm taking a taxi, but I don't have to pay for it. I'm not paying for it, not really. So my $3 ride's not really paying for the gas tax. So we have to really look at this. And the only one that can really help us with it is our legislators, So that's what you all get to do. When you see something that you don't like, because the city only has so much money, and the feds only have so much money. Now, when the state gets their allocation in, and if our legislators and the Senate pull out of that pot to pay the general fund, you all should be screaming to your legislators and your senator, because we can control that in the state. And that is what's happened over the last 5 years. So that's really cut a lot of the money out of getting transportation projects done in Arizona. And no, I'm not running for office.
Any other questions? Well, then I think I want to say thank you again for coming. Look for the final recommendations. Probably we'll put it on online. And
So that the final recommendations will be online, and when we were talking about January, she'll wrap up the end of December. So the whole month of January, we'll put an ad in the paper that says, as well as on our website, that the final study is up for your comments, and we have to go the full 30 days. So then we'll take it late February to our technical advisory committee with any public comments to approve. Then at the March 10th, don't hold me to that, second Tuesday of the month in March, the executive board will adopt it. Because we have to have it adopted by the end of March as a federal requirement. So encourage your friends and everybody to get online. Hey, go check out their website. We got a lot of information on our website, and we'll continue to post these things, and then we'll have the big posting that says, here is the final draft for your comment.
This deadline on November 14th on this will be included in January's, this will be the last comment period?
no, this is just for this.
Okay.
Then we will do a final report with everything put together, and that's the one that's going to be the comments in January. Because this might not be what you're going to see, depending on what the input is, right? For instance, John said that he really would like, to have a continuations here for the short term, to add, the, what is it? McCulloch, yeah, and then I gotta take my glasses off. I cannot see because these are for long distance. Thank you. Now I can see. McCulloch, and then we have he would like the Kiowa, and then Palo Verde and Eldorado. Yeah, this is the one that he would like to see, and then the McCulloch there, and he would like to have that added for the short term. So let's take a look at it. So this might change. That's what you're going to see in the January one, based on your input.
So tell all of your friends to go online.
That's what I say. That's why it's important.
Why do you want that? Because as a cyclist and marking the festival, when we're in the congested area down below, it's very crowded. So, we don't mind riding these brutal hills, and going up and around the whole city. And it seems that's the safest place for us to ride because it's less traffic, less congestion.
Yeah.
And if we just had that designated lane, that will provide us that safe avenue to go
Around, yeah,
the 15 miles from one side of town
to the other.
I live on the south side and I ride over there down to Lake Havasu Avenue
Mm-hmm.
and just climb
Going back.
So those are the safer areas for us to ride within the city
Okay.
without going on the highway.
Okay, we're going to take a look at the feasibility of that. This could change. That's why you need to go and see in January what we have. Okay? That's why it's important to tell everybody that go online and put in your thoughts on which one needs to be done, what needs to be done, and so forth. Okay? So we're looking for that. Thank you again. Thank you so much for coming.